how do you go about thinking about client acquisition, marketing, sales, advertising, and how do you
Uh,
connect that into the service part of the business?
well, this is a big question, and totally, I'll do a selfless plug here for my mentorship to coaches. I have an entire mentorship around the business side. We don't talk about fitness or nutrition at all. It is around the business of coaching because a lot of coaches, again, are not approaching their business like an actual business.
Mm,
They are throwing out whatever and hoping that something sticks. And so, in my mentorship, we're going to dive deep on first off, what is your niche? What is your avatar, right? You can't, if you are trying to target every single person, you're going to be generic and you can't specialize. If you, there's riches in the niches and you need to figure out what yours is. Okay. And if you don't know that, that's a problem. And you need to solve that problem. Now, are you going to get people outside of your niches? Of course. I have plenty of people that are well outside of the scope of my niche, but I'm not advertising to them. I have a specific person in mind that I am speaking to. And when I deliver content, it's to that guy or girl. Okay. So you need to understand your niche. Once you understand your niche, your avatar comes out of your niche. That's the person that lives in the niche bubble that you're looking at. And you got to psychologize this guy. Like break them down and talk about the job that they work, their relationship troubles. What do they do in the weekend and free time? What are all their possible pains, problems, and everything else that would possibly get in the way of them committing to their health and nutrition? So then what you do is you list all those things out, you bucketize those things and categorize them, and then you come up with solutions to all of them.
mm,
And now you have a content map. Now, these are the things that you're going to talk about. But when you do your content, you need to constantly always be telling them what's in it for them. You need to be breaking down objections, right? Because people, when people buy, it's because the pain threshold, they've crossed it. And so your posts, some of your posts are simply going to be making them aware of the pain that they didn't even know they had. But some people get out of the shower and they're looking at the pain in the mirror. They're ashamed. They don't like
mm,
what they see. And so some of your posts are awareness, sharing data about the dangers of a sedentary life. But then some of your posts need to be solution oriented, motivational. You can do it. Here's how, right? And then um, here's something that coaches miss all the time. They don't post calls to action. So
mm,
you've got to be out there speaking directly to your person and constantly posting calls to action. We live in an Amazon one-click buy society where we just want to click it and buy it. There have been times on Amazon and or Instagram rather, an ad for a thing has popped up that really intrigued me. They got me hooked. I'm in. I want to buy the thing, and I click on it, and it's not integrated with PayPal or Shop or something else, and I have to manually enter my card. I'm like, dude, my wallet's over there. I'm sitting on the couch, but I'm lazy. I'm not getting up to go get my card. Are you kidding me? It's 2024. Why is this not integrated? And I'm not going to buy. And so
mm,
there's a lot of people who are not going to DM you. They will not. So put the link in your bio or put the link in your story rather so they can click and fill out a form or click and schedule a call with you.
mm,
Right now, that even when you schedule calls, there's some things there to do. Don't open your Calendly up for a month. If people buy emotionally, if they
mm,
set up a call with you for 2 weeks, they're not buying, period.
mm,
Somebody expresses interest, you get them on the phone as quick as possible. I have an 85% close rate with people that inquire, and the industry standard around closing warm leads, like if you're over 30%, you're doing well.
mm.
And I'm like at 85%. And the reason is the second somebody inquires, I'm finding them on social media. I reply via email. I find them on social media and I send a voice note. The reason I send a voice note, they're always like, wow, you got back fast. And with a voice note, they can hear intonation, right? And I'll say, hey, thank you so much for applying. I saw that you filled this out. Thank you for filling out all that detail. That really helps me. What I'd love to do is schedule a call this week. What's your schedule look like? I have some free times here, here, and here, and here. And give them options, engage them immediately, and get face to face. You got to realize in the coaching space, especially if you are in a commodity priced zone, okay, you're one of many, so you better stand out. Um, if people are, if the woman comes to you that's like insecure in her body, can't lose the weight, had multiple kids, and just doesn't feel comfortable in her own skin, She's basically raising her hand by reaching out to you and saying like, I'm failing and I need help. So there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of vulnerability there.
Mm-hmm.
And so you better get face to face because then she can see a smile, hear tone. You can, assure her that you can solve her problem. And so I think the biggest thing for me is I don't think that I get a ton, maybe I do get a ton more leads because I do stay incredibly consistent with content and CTAs. Um, but I also have a really high close rate.
Mm-hmm.
Don't lose a lot of the people that come in. Um, Couple things here. In order to get clients, I call it the three R's. There's reach, relatability, and results. Some coaches are only on one platform, and I think that's a big mistake. You need to find out where your avatar is. If your avatar is homeschool moms, Twitter is not the place for you. I mean,
Right.
there might be a small sub community
You
there.
got to be on Facebook.
You've got to be on Facebook, you've got to be on Instagram, and you might even, this sounds goofy, you might even get on Pinterest.
Mm. Yeah.
My
Yep.
wife lives on Pinterest.
Right. Right.
Um, okay, so you're going to go there. If your avatar is executives, and maybe you offer some high ticket coaching, busy executives, whatever else, you better be on LinkedIn. What are you doing?
Right.
You better
Right.
be on X as well. X is kind of the public agora marketplace of ideas, and everybody should be on Facebook because Facebook is the one media where your grandma's on. Everyone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, Maybe Instagram doesn't apply to you, but it does for a lot of people. And then you need to understand how the different platforms prioritize things or what it is they highlight. Instagram is very visceral, video picture based. Twitter, X is very text based, intellectual. LinkedIn is very professional. When I post content on LinkedIn, if I'm ever doing a video, I'm a jacked, tatted, 6 foot tall dude who's a pro strongman. I'm never in a sleeveless cutoff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always in a button-up shirt. I speak in terms of investment and KPI and ROI because that's the language that they're used to speaking. When I get on Facebook, that's a little bit, you can kind of do everything on Facebook, which is cool. It's so
Mm-hmm.
versatile. But I will also add, coaches sometimes think they're setting themselves apart by using technical jargon, and that is the worst thing that you can do. There's a thing called the
Mm-hmm.
Flesch Kincaid score. You can take any text that you type, run it through that, and it will tell you at what reading level you're writing at. The average American speaks at a fifth grade reading level. So now when I write my Substack articles, I just write them, and then I use AI and I highlight it and I say, rewrite this at a fifth grade reading level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I publish. And my content, I'm dumbing it down. Don't talk about moving posteriorly through the sagittal plane. It's zero people. You've lost them.
Right.
Um, and get very good at telling stories. So stories
Mm-hmm.
move the emotions. So I did an experiment so that my coaches could see this. I did a series of posts on PCOS. Polycystic ovarian syndrome affects many women, and it was a very scientific layout of what it is, how it functions, mechanisms, whatever, and potential um, treatment protocols. It got some likes, got some hits. Then I did a video talking about the same exact topic with captions. It got more likes and more hits because now there's some dynamics and movement. Movement will always attract people better than picture.
Mm-hmm.
So got some more hits. But then the one that blew up was I told the story of a woman who came to me significantly overweight, um, PCOS. She and her husband desperately trying to conceive, could not conceive. She wanted to lose weight so they could conceive. Worked with me for 6 months, and I shared a screenshot of the text, like, Coach, exclamation point, I'm pregnant. Had the picture of the pregnancy test.
Oh man.
That thing blew up. Do you know how many women are reading that and they're resonating with that?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, man, I want that for myself. And
Right.
so stories are so, so powerful. I feel like I'm just verbally vomiting so much information. I'm trying to
No,
distill
it's good. It's good.
down. I'm trying to distill down my entire mentorship into like a 10-minute really hard. I'm gonna
Yeah,
pause and
no,
you ask
we
any
definitely
follow-up.
put you in the pressure cooker here, but it's been great because I think that was all amazing content. A couple of things I wanted to pull the thread on. Very early on, you mentioned putting out three different types of content, the three R's of content, and then one of them was also a call to action. Do you have sort of like the Gary V jab jab hook approach? Like, do you have a meter for how often you're adding value versus when you have a call to action, or is it just sort of
Oh, no,
intuitive?
yeah, it's pretty intuitive. I didn't even touch on, I said reach, relatability, results. So the reach piece is get where your avatar is. The relatability is really quickly, um, don't post just things you're interested in, right? I did a
Mm,
consult with people think that I get clients because I'm a pro strongman. No, I don't coach strongman anymore. And also, I'll post a picture of, you know, you know, being all ripped and having abs. That's cool and whatnot, and kind of shows that you lead by example. But a really cool way to show how not valuable that is look at your insights.
yeah.
Nobody is really like sharing the picture of your abs. Like, hey, good job, bro. Right?
Mm,
People are sharing the educational and the value stuff that you add.
mm,
Um, and then the results piece. Frankly, no one cares that much that I have abs. They want abs. So show
right.
me what you've done for other people.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
think I saw one of your posts not too long ago where you were kind of poking coaches to do that more. That, and I notice in your own content, in fact, I think if you scan through most of your feed, it's results of other clients.
that's
And
right.
then, I mean, you do show your own as well. But
Asian.
the vast
Yeah,
majority is your clients, it seems.
that's right. That's right. And so my take on content is I want to provide an insane amount of free value. My thought is I want to give away so much. This is kind of a Hormozy tactic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give away so much insane free value that the thought process is like, dang, if I work with him, how much more? Like,
Mm-hmm.
giving all this away for free, how much more?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to be consistent. Do not think that. So I did a business consult with a young lady, 100,000 Instagram followers. She is a bikini Olympian, objectively beautiful girl, um, has a body that most women would die for, and she had like three clients.
Mm-hmm.
Like three clients. And I took a look at her social media profile and I was talking with her and I said, hey, I'm just gonna be honest. Well, first off, who's your avatar? She's like, I just want to help, you know, um, she was a mother herself, like mothers be fit and blah, blah. I said, okay, cool. I said, you realize you're not remotely relatable. Like you're incredibly intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it looks like you have one passion in life, and that's this. And they have a husband, a kids, job, a house to clean, laundry, dishes. So you just posting your stage shots all day long or life in a gym is so foreign and unrelatable. Like they might clap back for you and say you look great, but they
Mm-hmm.
don't think that your life is even remotely that they can do what you're doing because they think you live here all day long.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny because I said you need to post some of your other hobbies, some of your other interests, post your values. Yes, some people will be pissed off and you'll drive some away, but you'll also pull in people that are closely related to you, and people do purchase based on value. And so don't be scared of that. Um, so I just said, hey, maybe instead of posting bikini shots, maybe you do kind of a day in the life of like how you get your kids, lunches ready. And so she started posting some reels in like her hair's up in a messy bun, she's in like sweatpants and a jankety paint stained t-shirt, and all of a sudden her
Mm-hmm.
likes and things are going up, and she's like, dude, I'm getting more people like reaching out. I'm like, yeah, because you look like a human.
That's so good. I imagine, did you have to go through a learning curve? Like, I mean, most
Oh,
people would walk by you in a street and, probably lock the doors or something. But I mean, I barely know you, but you're incredibly approachable and friendly. But at complete, just judge a book by its cover, you're an intimidating guy as well. But I would say your content is not. Did you
right.
have to go through a learning curve on that, or was it just kind of natural that you've always had to overcome that, even in the office?
Well, I'm glad you said that. In the office, I had a guy who worked for me, who was big, jacked, and he he came off very intimidating. And I told him, I was like, look, man, we have to work to soften our approach. Like we have to understand how we come off to people. And
Yeah.
as leaders, it might not seem fair, but we own the impression we create. We have to
Mm,
we you can look, you can get angry and say, well, no, that's the other person. If that's what they think of me, that's their problem and blah blah. Okay, have fun being successful.
mm,
So we have to own the impression we create, and sometimes it is okay. We don't care to correct that impression.
Yeah.
Um, but but other times we just have to understand our audience. Like I said, even when I post things on LinkedIn, I'm going to contextualize that. I'm going
Right.
to, I'm fully aware that when I'm in the line at the grocery store in the middle of summer and I have just come from the gym and I've got a tank top on and I'm checking out in the grocery store, the little old lady in front of me is clutching her purse a little closely. So I will do everything in my power to be kind, to put her grocery bags in her cart, call her ma'am, and put her at ease because I
Mm,
realized that, like, hey, she's not being judgmental, she's being wise. There's this, you
yeah.
know.
That, yeah. Somewhat unrelated to that, but kind of towards the end of your uh I don't know what to call it, a rant, dialogue, diatribe. You were talking about sharing your values. I remember talking to you early on uh, after meeting you, mentioning that you've had your social media account banned a few times and you liked it. In fact, you were like trying to come up with strategies to get banned because every time you came back, your audience would actually grow. And that was maybe even a year ago when I heard that from you. It seems like we're in a bit of a new era. In fact, today, January 20th might be marking some of that transition. But just in general, I mean, you even see Facebook is pulling back on their censorship or their whatever moderation policy.
Right.
Obviously, X is under new direction in the last couple of years. Uh, so maybe it kind of validates what you're saying even more. But you were doing that even when it was kind of at the peak of
Yeah.
um, the moderation stuff going on. So maybe you could talk a little bit more about how you approach that. I mean, it sounds like a very principles kind of a mindset.
Sure.
Obviously, a conscious thing, or yeah, is that just who you are, or is it something where you're like, this is the right thing to do from a business perspective, or how did you approach
It's
that?
who I am. It's who I am. And honestly, since I've grown the business, I am less inflammatory for multiple reasons.
Mm,
If I think something does need to be said, I'm going to say it, and I do not care the social consequences. So, like
mm,
my original Instagram account had like 30,000 followers back in the peak of my strongman days. Now, look, this is just a numbers game. We know that the average interactions on Instagram are around 0.08%, 1%. So let's just do some math here. 30,000 people. You only have a small number of those people that are actually interacting with you on a daily basis and seeing your content. So here's what happens. They canceled my account. I create a new one. That small subset of people gets pissed off at the censorship and they all screenshot my new profile and say, hey, Instagram decided to take down my boy Anthony's page. You should go follow him. So now I actually increased my real time reach, even though my followers are smaller, because all these like minded real people who are actually real friends of theirs started following me now. I have literally never lost business when my accounts get shut down because I come back harder and
mm,
more people that are like-minded start following me.
mm.
Now, I do tone it down a little bit. That is my personality, just to be opinionated, and I have made a concerted effort to reserve that. I don't stop that. I think it is a strategic thing. There
Mm,
is a lot of science around polarity, and polarity
mm.
draws people, but I also want to use it ethically. Like I don't want to drop bombs to just to get eyes. I'm not going to try
Yeah,
and drop.
some people say like, oh, you have to go out there and be an iconoclast, or else you're ignored. Like you have to be at an extreme. I never get the impression that you're at an extreme. It just seems like you are being transparent with your thoughts,
That's
which
right.
that was like a wild idea a couple of years ago that people seem to have chilled out a bit to be like, okay, we don't have to think exactly the same,
The
and but we can speak our
actual,
opinion.
that's right. The actual comment that got me banned from Instagram the second time, this is my third account. Um, I said that trans people who perform for kids are groomers.
Mm,
That was the wrong thing to say. I will say it again 1,000 times. I have
mm,
no apologies for that, whatever else. I've said other inflammatory things that I think would be that I could have held my tongue on. Now I kind of run it through the grid of like, you know, is this helpful? Does this need to be said at a societal level? Am I just mocking for the sake of mocking? Uh,
Mm,
like what is my aim here?
mm,
Um,
mm.
so I have been way less inflammatory. Um, you know, it- I'm
That's a
thinking,
useful filter. I mean, you got there's because kind of like what you were saying earlier, you have to put your content in the right environment context
yeah,
and filtering it through that intention lens. I can see would help people think about, okay, I can't just put a mental diarrhea out on social media and say, well, I'm just being myself.
right.
Like you gotta like have at least a little bit of a filter, take into account the context that you're in, where you're posting, what your intentions are, and I mean, and what it is that you're trying to communicate. Like, are you, is it help? Is it adding value? Like, do you think about it that way? Like, is this like when you're posting your content, do you sort of have like a mental map of like you said, you're trying to put as much free value out there, or do you have like categories of value, or how do you define
Um,
things in that sense?
in that regard, I don't really think a whole lot about it. I
Yeah.
mean, I posted a funny one today with Trump with the crown on his head, and I said, "Daddy's back." And that's more just like riding a cultural moment
Yeah, yeah.
than anything. So,
Memes
and
are one of the most popular,
they are.
social media posts, right?
They are. They are. Sometimes if there's something truly like the whole world is talking about a thing,
Yeah.
not that I think I'm any influencer by any means, but I might offer a comment. I have boy, I've probably typed and deleted so many so many posts over the last year, just thinking through the like what does this serve? And now I'll post something where I know that the content itself, people might disagree with it, but I'm trying to be less of an ass when I say it. Like
Hmm.
there's a way to share your values that um I guess here's the thought that I think of. I'm okay if people are offended by the belief I hold. I shouldn't be okay if they're offended by me.
Hmm.
Like in the sense that if you and I have a difference of opinion on a social issue, you could not like my view, but you shouldn't think to yourself, he was an ass to me,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And that's where I've failed in the past is I teach a high school logic class 2 days a week. And I teach the kids and I say, hey, one of the best ways to avoid logical fallacies is to try to rarely use the words always and never.
Hmm.
You say many times or sometimes or whatever else, that leaves the door open to dialogue. And because when you use the words always or never, whoever is in that bucket, then you've just put your friends potentially in that bucket. And that's not going to open the door of dialogue. And isn't the goal like shouldn't if you truly believe something, shouldn't the aim be to persuade those you care about to your side? Well,
Hmm.
um, you're not going to persuade anybody by putting them in a category with which that you disdain.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
so yeah, I'll share my views on things all the time. I'm trying to be a little bit more careful, but I
Hmm.
also don't want to be. I was known kind of for that. Now that I'm growing my business and I have 14 other coaches who work for me, and it's a different set of pressure when
Yeah.
other people's livelihoods are dependent on me. So I am a
Right.
little bit more careful to say, hey, what's the aim of this?
Right.
But I did have one thing I wanted to share with the coaches about generating leads if we've got time for it.
Yep.
Something that people often miss is the power of email marketing. Um, and all of you probably have thousands of emails that you could extract from Google. It's very easy to do. You just go to Google Accounts and you can click export and put it in a spreadsheet. And some of those emails may be useless, like do not reply emails or, whatever the case might be. But anybody that you have ever interacted with before, if you want to hit them with a marketing campaign, I taught my coaches how to do this, and we're creating a master list for when our website launches. I have over 50,000 emails.
Hmm.
ready to blast. So you just think about it. Let's just do some math. I have this, I'm reading here off of this wiki I created for them. The number of leads you can expect per 100 emails, this is based on real data, typically falls in the range of 1 to 5 leads for every 100 emails. Okay, so the average cold email response rate is around 1 to 5%. This means for every 100 cold emails you send, you can expect 1 to 5 responses. For B2B email marketing, a good conversion's around 3%. So, in other words, you could expect roughly 3 leads per 100 emails. Um, and of course, things can impact that. Ways that you can maximize your lead gen are like personalizing your emails, play around with the subject line. That's a huge one. You could send 1,000 of the same email with one subject line, keep the same body of the email and send a different subject line and test the read rates, right? Um, and so um, let's just work this logic out. Okay. I told my coaches to do this for CTAs, calls to action on social media. I said, look, do you want to get 4 clients a month? Well, here's how you do this. For every 100 CTAs you post, you get 15 responses. That could be to fill out a form, set up a call. If you're confident in your offer and your sales script and you know how to close the deal, let's just say you close 30%, which is way lower than mine and where I want you to be. But let's say you close 30%, which is kind of industry standard. That means if you want to get 4 clients a month, you need to post 100 CTAs per month. So the math on that is 100 divided by 31 days is 3.2. So not posts, CTAs. So I try to post 3 CTAs a day to hit 100 for the month. And this doesn't need to be 3 separate posts. It could be the same post on 3 separate platforms. So
Hmm.
really, as you see, it's just a game of consistency. You can post more than one CTA a day if you want, or post different CTAs. I post a CTA every day on Facebook, Instagram, X. I need to get better at LinkedIn, and then also my Substack. I have a Substack article as well, account as well. And then um, what this does for you too is it makes you consistent at putting content out and you're going to get better. You just have to get the reps in, right? Well, I tell this story all the time. When I was a store manager for Starbucks, our store broke the record for the most 1 pound bags of Christmas blend sold on launch day. We sold like 100 pounds. And I remember telling my team, like, hey, we're a high volume drive through. We will see 1,000 cars come through this building today. We want to sell 100 pounds. That means we're going to ask every single person, and we are going to be told no 900 times. Don't get discouraged. We need the no's to get to the yeses. Every no that we hear is one no closer to the yes. So all you have to do is stay consistent and do the work. There's a book I would recommend that every single coach read and then reread and probably read a couple times a year is Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson.
Mm.
And he talks in there about the importance of being prolific and being consistent. And he said in there, something that I have taken to heart and seen bear fruit in my business is if you write, well, pick your medium. If you like to talk, make a video and do a vlog. If you like to write, do a blog, whatever. If you do a podcast, whatever. If you publish content every single day for a year, you will never have money problems.
Mm.
Period. How many times have you picked up a show on its fifth season?
Hmm.
Like, oh, this is good. I got to go back and start from the beginning and binge
Hmm.
seasons 1 to 5. And imagine if those producers had launched the pilot episode and it was like, it's not an overnight success. We're going to scrap this thing, right? No, they
Right.
keep going, and popularity for things keeps coming back. As it grows, where popularity grows, and a whole new generation of people are discovering it. My kids discovered Cobra Kai, and so now they want to watch Karate Kid and Mr. Miyagi.
They backed into
Get
the
back
source, the
into it.
original source material. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
amazing.
So really, I mean, this just comes down to business is a game of arbitrage. How do we turn $1 into two? And getting leads is a game of consistency. You have to just make yourself unforgettable. Like people need to open social media, and there you are again, adding value, right? Because that same person, listen, I get clients all the time that do not like, do not comment, do not share, do not index on likes, comments, or shares.
Hmm.
People all the time who are reading your stuff and it's soaking in the back of their mind and they're going along. They've been following you for years. And you know what? They just get out of the doctor's office and the doctor said, hey, man, like your triglycerides are really high or HA1C is not good. Like you need to get this stuff under control. And immediately you come to mind because you're constantly talking about this stuff.
I'm tempted to end there because that is such an awesome note to finish on, but I want to tag on one last question
Go
if
for it.
if you got time.
Oh, yeah.
I think most people can wrap their head around needing to post frequently, and they're going to have to overcome whatever obstacles or resistance to that come up. What I frequently hear though from people who have tried to do that is, I feel like I'm just saying the same thing everybody else is saying. Why am I any more qualified? Who's going to pay attention? Like, how do you kind of get over the hurdle of feeling like you don't have anything to say, or everybody else has said it better, or is more qualified to say it, right?
We talk
Like,
about
I'm
this in
not
my
America's strongest man. How can I tell you how to get as strong as he can?
we we talk about this in my mentorship. Okay. Um, the lion is the king of the jungle, right? Um, well, in my house, the our cat, that's the chief authority. It kills all the mice, the chickens run from it, the pig runs from it, whatever else. You don't need to be the authority in the entire market. You need to be the authority in your sphere of influence. And
Mm,
also, listen, I have a perfect story for this. I'll never forget when I had this realization myself. I was going to make a piece of content talking about why I preferred not to elevate the toes in the RDL. And I logged onto Instagram and Paul Carter made a video on that same thing that day. And I was like, screw it. And and I was talking to my business coach about it, and they were like, you should put it out anyways. I was like, why? And they were like, well, go look at how many of your followers overlap with his. And it was like 25, maybe. Um, and here's the thing. He makes great content and his followers may resonate with that, but I might say it in a slightly different way that resonates with my people because I'm a different person. And also, I'm speaking to a different crowd of people who've never heard of him. He's not an authority in their life. They don't know who that is. You're the subject matter authority in your sphere of influence. So you have to
mm,
take that imposter syndrome and throw it away
mm,
because it's fake. It's not real. Also, I'm going to call BS on the I don't have things to say. Most of my content, I mean, I write now and I document things because my clients ask me. So if
mhm,
one client asks me, I'm going to probably share it with the world.
mhm,
So, for example, ginger, 600 to 800 milligrams of ginger, um, right around the day or two before the menstrual cycle starts and 3 days in is a godsend for women who have really heavy periods and whatever. So I have a lot of my ladies do that who have PMDD and other issues. And I'll take screenshots of like, Coach, I felt so much better, blah, 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 blah. Cool. Well, guess what? Now I'm going to write an entire article on why ginger works for this. It's going to live on my Substack. Now that becomes a tweet thread, which then becomes in my Instagram stories, which then is a Facebook post. So I take content and repurpose it 1,000 places. And then the next time I have a female client going, and I say, hey, you should take ginger for this. Well, how does that work? Here's a link.
mm.
So
Saves you time later on down the
oh,
road.
of
Yeah.
course. Document everything. So this is
Mm,
something Russell says in his book is do not worry about creating content. Okay, there's a time for that. I probably one time a week, I might spend 20 to 25 minutes. Like for example, I worked out with one of my wellness clients today, and my wife got a lot of really cool footage on her fancy high-res camera, and I'll take the footage down and we'll edit it and we'll take it and turn it into some like nice cool reel. Maybe once a week, I spend more than 20 minutes on some one curated piece of content.
mm.
99 times out of 10, or out of 100 rather, I'm just throwing out stuff. I don't create, I document.
Oh, that's really
Document.
interesting.
For example, um, make sure you're smiling. Good. I just took a screenshot of this, and when we're done, this will be like, hey, had a fantastic conversation with Andrew and the guys over at Barbell Logic. We're talking about the business of coaching. Make sure to, click on this podcast and listen to it when it drops. That took me 2 seconds.
Man, the create versus document that's powerful, because I think a lot of people will get kind of frozen on the idea of like, okay,
Oh
I've
yeah.
got to make this thing perfect. I'm putting it out to the world. Like,
That
that you
perfectionism
might need to
kills
do that if you're
everybody.
writing a book or something that's,
Yeah.
but I don't know, even it's just
Well,
documenting
you
is
coach your
interesting.
clients. Perfectionism is going to kill your clients. It's going to kill you too.
Mm,
There's a
yep.
reason. There's a reason that most of the CEOs in the world are the C students, and the A students work for the C students.
Right, right.
Because the C students are the ones who are willing to take risks to just go get her done, and the A students are the ones who have to have everything perfect before they take action. And if, I'm
Hmm.
not denigrating you if you're an A student, but if you're an A student and that's your propensity, then be aware of it and start
Hmm.
challenging yourself to take more risks.
That's awesome. Yeah, the thought that comes to my mind, shameless turnkey coach plug, is that a lot of times, I'll answer client questions as part of my video feedback. And when you were saying that, it just kind of dawned on me that I get that content auto downloaded to my hard drive with every single video feedback that I do that I could clip and repost. I mean, I just did a whole diatribe on a relatively long, most of my videos are only 2, 3 minutes, but this one I think I went almost 10 minutes, which is pretty
Oh,
unusual for me. But I had this whole explanation of training advancement and he's hitting a point where he was asking like how come some days I show up and I just kill it and we wait a week or no sorry actually he what last week I crashed and burned in my workout. We repeated the same weeks a week later and it's flying off my chest, like I feel like I could have done another 25 pounds. So I just go into this explanation of how we're operating closer to his genetic potential and blah 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 blah. Like I could clip that and make that
yeah.
content now somewhere.
Content. Yeah,
Yeah.
there are so many times I live with my I have an app on my phone. I just use the Notes app. The Notes app is so powerful. And anytime an idea strikes me, I just jot it down. I have a little note just called content.
Mm.
And when I'm reading books, a lot of the stuff that when I'm
Mm.
reading a book, I'm going to grab that. Or I'm reading a book right now. It's called "This Is Your Brain on Food" around PTSD, anxiety, and its relation to diet. And
Mm.
I put blueberries in all of my clients' plans that can handle it because pound for pound, it's just one of the greatest antioxidants and whatever else. Well, there's a whole little section in there on a study showing that blueberries lower a certain chemical in the brain that can lower anxiety. So I was like, that's fascinating. I want to go down that rabbit hole. So it's on my Substack to write list, and I'm going to write a whole article around how blueberries can, improve anxiety. Then that will get posted in my school community with all of my clients. It will then get posted as a tweet thread on Twitter. It'll get posted on Substack, Substack, LinkedIn, Facebook. And so that one little thing that I read in the book now becomes a million forms of content.
Mm.
And all of that content has CTAs in it.
Mm.